Hey guys, this is Naveen here. Welcome back to Naveen Automation Labs once again. So again, we have one very interesting mock interview today. The candidate name is Nibesh, and he is from right now in London, from UK, and he's having around 5+ years of experience. I have his resume with me, and looks pretty good in terms of testing and different automation tools he has used. He has worked with JIRA. He has worked with Selenium, Java, TestNG, Cucumber, BDD frameworks, and basic knowledge on SQL and GitHub. Okay, that looks good. So, hi Nibesh, you can start your cam now.
Hi, good morning, Naveen. It's morning in
Very
here.
good morning, Nibesh. Very, very good morning. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Great, Nibesh. So, I have your resume with me, and can you please quickly tell me what exactly you're doing currently in terms of testing, in terms of different testing activities, automation in your last couple of projects?
Yeah, sure. So with regards to the testing side of things, the last project that I worked on was as an intern, wherein I was working with a project. The domain was for a hotel app, and then in that I was working as a software tester, where I was creating test. Well, I was identifying test conditions, converting them into test cases, creating defect reports. And then also I was doing the automation of the test cases that I created. So the last project that I was in was of we had 3 sprints of 1 week each, and so that lasted about a month. So that was the last project, but prior to that, I also worked for a software startup where the domain was mainly insurance based, where we'd create a referral page for case managers to handle their insurance details. So in that again, I started as a software tester in those projects where I started with basics of creating test conditions, manual test cases, defect reports, and then I eventually led up to creating test plans. And then I also got the opportunity to automate one project, with Selenium WebDriver, with Java and TestNG framework. And currently, what I'm doing is I'm currently learning new tools at the moment, as I'm not involved in any project. So recently I completed my basics on MySQL. And also I've got knowledge on Cucumber and BDD framework, so that's where I'm at this stage.
Okay, so in your last project, you were the only QA, or you were working as a multiple QA over there, or you were working like an individual contributor?
So we worked as a team. So in that particular team I worked in, we had about 5 testers, all working remotely. So we had a main project manager who every week, every Saturday, we had a meeting. And then so in that we were given certain portions of the application that had to be tested, where we had to create all the test cases and defect reports and automation. So every day we had a scrum meeting of about 15 minutes where we'd always discussed what we'd done the day before and what our plans for the next day were. And every weekend we obviously put the project forward, the week's work. So essentially, I was involved in a team in that particular project.
Okay, great. So that was 2 weeks of a sprint or 3 weeks of a sprint?
So we had 3 sprints. Each sprint lasted a week.
Okay. So is it compulsory that we can have only 2 weeks or 1 week or 3 weeks of sprint? Any certain rules are defined somewhere, or what do you think? Or let's see, I say let's have 1 month of.
Sorry. So yeah, I was saying sprint basically depends on the structure of the project, right? So it's like when you have a project which which could obviously it could go to 3 or 4 sprints, but each individual sprint, the reason why we do that is because there are certain functionalities or certain section of the application which is basically deployed, without the whole application being developed. So essentially, it depends on the size of the project, how big the project is. But each sprint normally lasts from 1 week to about about 1.5 to 2 weeks. That's the normal practice. But there's nothing to say that, a whole project has to be completed within 2 sprints or 3 sprints. It again depends on the size of it.
Okay, so as such, you mean to say that there are no rules are defined. We can have according to the project size and kind of deliverables that we have, right?
That's right. So again, it depends on what functions and what features you want, deployed in a certain release. Again, because that comes as a part of a sprint planning. So it depends on the size of the project.
Okay. So can you tell me like the typical difference that we have old school methods like a typical waterfall model and the agile? Can you tell me with your experience, give me some 3-4 important points, the difference between agile methodology and waterfall model, and
Sure.
why agile is better than, or why agile is not that good as compared to waterfall model?
Sure. So I'd like to go individually, right? So with waterfall model, what basically it is, if you are to work in a waterfall model, you have to make sure that you have all the requirements at the very beginning, which cannot be changed in the process of the software development lifecycle as soon as that it enters the process. Now, waterfall method is it's best suited for projects that have very limited requirements. Well, when I say limited requirements, they have requirements that is not changing, that's not varying, something that's easy to implement, and that is particularly small. So in waterfall model, what happens is now each phase of the software development lifecycle, to switch from one phase to the other, you have to have the first phase of that particular cycle completed before you jump into the next one. Now, the disadvantage of this is it has no scope of any changes in the project. So if anything changes in that particular cycle, the whole process has to start from the beginning. So it's only best suited for those kind of projects where the requirements are it's a requirement that's not too big to understand. It is a small requirement which can be easily implemented. Whereas with Agile, it's a multi-iterative method where we have where we have different sprints. Where in the process of the software development lifecycle, we can always go back and forth in the process. It has scope for changes. There is early testing that can be carried out in Agile methodology where clients can directly get involved. Now, the advantage of Agile methodology is the fact that obviously it has scope of requirement changes and it's always visible to everyone working in a team where we stand at. But the disadvantage of Agile methodology is because there is constant change in the requirement. Right now, there could be an issue with, maybe understanding of the requirement in between the process. So, for example, whilst the development is going through or the testing is going through, there is a certain change in the requirement. So that requirement, if not understood, right, in mid-project, could result into a different result altogether. So it's very, very essential to keep track of all the changes that occurs in Agile, which is very, very frequent and constant.
Okay.
So yeah, we have to be monitoring that.
So tell me one thing, you were saying that we have advantages and disadvantages with Agile and with waterfall model also, no doubt about it. So for QA point of view, if you're working in Agile methodology and you're following, let's say 15 days or 2 weeks of a sprint, what could be the challenges for the QA point of view? You must have faced some challenges, right? For a QA point of view, what are different challenges we face?
So the different challenges from a QA point of view is firstly, if all the requirements that is planned for that particular sprint is not complete, then we go behind the schedule of being able to test what we've actually tried to implement in that particular sprint. And secondly, again, there could be issues with managing the whole test process with regards to the scheduled deadline, because what it is in a certain timeline, if you have a lot to complete, you might not be able to fit in everything at the in that particular sprint, which could be another challenge. And the other challenges, again, especially with these sprints, if the requirement communication is not proper or the understanding of the requirement is not clear, then it could result in a different product being created. And also, yeah, and also again, we have to be very, very specific with regards to especially the changes that occur in the requirements. So these are things that we need to sort of like consider.
What do you think? So what do you think to overcome these challenges that you have told that you are not getting enough time, the requirement, there is a gap in the requirement was not that clear. So what, as a QA, what will you suggest or what is your approach to overcome these problems?
So firstly, when I understand the requirements, firstly I'll have to understand the important functionalities that take priority in that particular project, because not necessarily in a sprint all that is planned can be implemented. So firstly I'll have to pick up on those that is a major function, that is basically the priority requirements in the particular application. Now, and then once I prioritize that, I want to ensure that at least those features that is absolutely essential for that particular sprint is developed, and that is taking the right stand, if you like, with regards to development and deployment. Now, aside from that, now if I'm unable to complete anything in that particular sprint, then I'll make a list of that, and then I'll put that forward to the stakeholders to say that these are something from our review and understanding which can be implemented in a different sprint. So the priority should go to those that we've identified as something that needs to be a part of that sprint inevitably.
So let's see. Okay, good. So let's say I give you one situation. So we have 2 weeks of a sprint, and on the second day, on Friday, on the second week on the Friday, the development is done, and your product manager says that, okay, hey, let's test this particular application and all these features, whatever we have developed from last 2 weeks, and today only we have to deploy. How will you handle this? Like, we have QA got only 1 hour, 1 day and couple of hours to test this entire feature. Let's say they have developed around 3 to 4 major user stories, and they delivered to you on the last day. Will you be able to test it properly, or you will raise any concern for that, or what will you handle it?
So firstly, with regards to testing of it, now if it is something that we'll have to release, and if we in a tight deadline that way, so I'll have to first segregate the test cases on priority. And how I prioritize that is first on the basis of now once the product is complete and ready to test, I'll first identify all the smoke test cases, which obviously is very, very much essential for this stability of the particular application. So I'll make sure that that smoke test cases are firstly all executed. That way the application is stable, and then I will then look into those functionalities that again take priority. Once the application is stable. And in the process, I'll also identify bugs and any criticality that will take the main priority, like anything that impacts the business needs or the big business requirements. Those will be the priority tasks that I'll put forward for rectification. And then in the meantime, if there are any other bugs, that is not a blocker, or that doesn't stop the release of the project. I will put that forward to be completed. I'll put that forward to the stakeholders to let them know that that is something in progress and that we move that to a different sprint. Now, this is the approach I'll take for projects. But if it is a case where the application has to be 100% stable and it has to be released as per the stakeholders' expectation, and it has to be 100% quality, in that case, I'll have to raise concerns with regards to timeline, because that will be after I've done my testing. I'll put forward the results, and then I'll have to give an understanding of the fact that that's the best we can do in that particular time with that particular project. So that's the approach I'll take.
So tell me one thing. Let's see, on the same day, and you got around 3 features to test, and those are very lengthy user stories, and then you are raising the bugs back to back, and feature is not at all stable. You have raised around 50 bugs. Assume that I'm just giving you a big number over here. Let's say 50 bugs we have raised in next couple of hours. And then your product manager is coming to you and saying that, okay, hey, Nibesh, let's not raise these bugs. Let's raise only the blocker or critical bugs. Will you accept that?
I mean, given the timeline and the scheduled deadline of the project, if that is how we can deploy it, because again, like I said, smoke tests and all the big functionalities that impacts the stability of the application will be the main priority. So if a bug is not a blocker and the system can still run on the basis of that, on the basis of not fixing that straight away. And if it is a project that has to be deployed straight away, yes,
But my
it will
question
be
is,
something that we'll be deploying. However,
that will you raise those 50 bugs, or you will raise only blocker bugs or critical bugs?
in that particular deadline, I'll focus on the blocker bugs. The bugs that's a blocker, which will obviously put through for rectification. But I'll give them a reminder, the fact that these kind of small little bugs that we haven't fixed could impact the reputation of the company. Like
They don't bother about the reminders. Let's see, they don't bother about the reminders, and the product manager is just simply saying that, okay, just focus on the blocker and critical bugs. And on almost every page, you are finding some minor bugs or normal bugs, or maybe some major or high priority bugs that you are getting it. Will you raise in your JIRA ticket in the form of JIRA ticket for the future reference point of view, or will you just ignore it and just concentrate only on blocker bugs?
So with the non-blocker bugs, what I'll do is that will be raised in JIRA as well for reference. I'll put that on my checklist as well, and also I will secure that to be for me to put onto my test case that as a now that's if you follow the pesticide paradox concept, it's very essential for us to have these kind of features that we've identified as bugs to be registered, just so that we can take up with that at a later time. So yes, all the documentation of it and logging of those bugs, keeping track of those bugs will be something that I'll be doing. However, with regards to rectifying it, the priority will be taken by the blocker bugs or issues that need to be fixed straight away.
So let's say you are doing regression testing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we have to perform regression testing, let's tell me the practical example when we have to use regression testing.
A regression testing is done every time any changes is made in the application. So for example, if any new feature is added to the application, what we first do is we first test that particular feature to make sure that that feature is working. However, we also need to check the impact of that particular change on the application. So what we do is we then we do the regression testing with that particular new implementation to make sure that the application is stable, that it hasn't affected any other side of the application, not created any.
So let's say you have 10 modules in your application, right? And those are covering, those are having, let's see, 500 test cases, the regression test cases. And the developer, he has made some changes in module 1 and module 5. Let's see. Will you execute all the 500 test cases, or you will concentrate on the specific module-based test cases during regression?
So during regression, again, you have to focus on all the 500 test cases, because a certain module, an update or any changes in certain module could impact, a different side of the application, which we might not completely be aware of.
Let's see, you have raised around 10 bugs, and then they have fixed it to the next day, and then you are getting the build once again next day. Again, are you going to execute those 500 test cases? You don't have time, you don't have resources. Every time, are you going to execute those 500 test cases?
So again, the regression testing, as the name suggests, it is something that it's inevitable that if you're not carrying out the testing from the start to the end, that again doesn't become regression testing. So that's again, if you're just doing a certain module, that won't sort of give you an idea of the impact it might be causing on a different section of the application. So as it's regression testing.
So what could be the other strategies we can follow here? Are you aware about something like this, impact analysis, risk analysis, something like that? So when you write a test cases, can we do some impact analysis when we define the user story, that if make any changes with respect to this user story, it's going to impact in module 5 or 6 or 7, so that at the time of regression, you will just concentrate on the impacted area, not to the overall area, not to the overall application.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So with this impact analysis, that is something in
Mm-hmm.
place as well, which obviously helps in cutting down of running all the applications. So yeah, the impact analysis gives an understanding of
Mm-hmm.
how the particular changes could impact the system. But with that analysis, we know, I mean, once we've done that analysis, it gives us an understanding that, if we carry out regression testing for certain modules or for certain changes,
Mm-hmm.
then that still would not impact, the
Mm-hmm.
stability of the application. So if once that analysis is done, and we deploy the regression testing methodology, once we've already
Mm-hmm.
got that understanding, I think, it should then work for different, just as
Okay.
testing different modules. Sorry, I completely forgot that. This went off my head.
Sure, no problem. That's good. So, what is the role of automation in Agile, especially in we have only 2 weeks or 1 week of a sprint? How exactly that automation make your life easy?
Yeah, so basically automation is used but it helps in various ways. Firstly, automation saves a
Mm-hmm.
lot of time and cost. The reason how it does that is because you normally when you automate something, you prioritize on those cases, test cases that is constantly in use. So for example,
Mm-hmm.
regression testing is always done, smoke testing is always done, sanity testing is so you create those test cases for the ones that you manually execute all the time. So regression test cases will be the priority. And what that does is that also saves any human error. So because when you
Mm-hmm.
do manual testing, there could be things that you might have skipped on, you might have missed out on. But when you automate test cases, you have the code, you have the stable sort of like cases that you're automating. So
Mm-hmm.
you have that system. So it helps reduce human errors, saves a lot of time, and also it also makes sure that it also sort of like helps in the stability of the application, because running of the regression testing constantly
Mm-hmm.
through a program that you've already installed in the system make sure that any issues there is easily identified.
Okay.
So that sort of like helps in that way.
Okay. So let's see if I give you a project where I see that, okay, Nimesh, that this is one of the best projects that we have, but we don't have any scope for automation because the project is very critical for next 6 months or maybe for 1 year, and we won't get enough time and resources. And in fact, we don't have that budget also to allocate a good to spend some budget on automation tool or resources. But the project domain knowledge is very much required, and we will give you the training on the project, on the domain, and you will be expertise in that particular domain. What will you prefer? And at the same time, I'm giving you a project where you will have some good amount of automation work, but no product knowledge. You just need to work as a consultant, as an automation consultant. You need to worry about the product. You just need to concentrate on the automation work. Which project will you prefer?
I'll prefer the first one. The first one wherein you've given the product knowledge, you've given an understanding of the product. Yes, there is no scope for automation at the beginning, but before we switch to automation, it's always manual testing cannot be underestimated, because manual testing is always the start to
Mm-hmm.
automating test cases or anything, which is again an essential criteria where you have to understand the product, right, as a quality
Mm-hmm.
analyst. You have to understand the product. You have to make sure that the product is deployed the right way, and then also you have to make sure that it basically you have to work towards making sure that the product is being built right, or the right product is being built, if you like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, yes, it might lack the scope of automation because of, like you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
time factor or cost factor. But once it gets to a point where, where once I've got an understanding of the product, and once the test cases are executed manually, and once
Okay.
I've got the understanding, I can suggest things like automation. I'll first put forward the
Mm-hmm.
fact like how automation can help us, like points I mentioned before, like you reducing human error, saving time, and all of that. But also I'll bring into light the fact that it doesn't necessarily have to be a
Mm-hmm.
paid service for automation. Because like Selenium
Correct.
WebDriver, for example, is an open source, right? It's an open source,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously supports different platform, different programming languages, different browsers. And effectively, like, you know, that is no cost to the company. However, the benefit of that is, you know, we're working towards making the application more stable and you know, trying to avoid more errors and you know, that might occur when doing manually. So I'll put that forward. However, I won't jump into, like, you know, trying to get that done straight away, because at the end of the day, the priority is, yeah. So yeah.
Okay. So let's see. One more situation question I'm asking you that then there are two projects. A project where you have to start automation from the beginning, from the start, and we have budget, we have resources for automation, but everything you have to lead a team over there for automation. You have to develop the framework. Nothing is written. Not a single framework, not a single line of code is written. Everything you have to start from the scratch. And then there is another framework. The framework is already developed, and we just need to enhance the framework, keep adding the test cases, keep adding the libraries over there. Which one do you prefer?
I'd prefer the first one, because first one, why I would prefer that is because once you have a good understanding of the project and the product, you know, like, you know, what kind of automation is suitable for that particular project. You know, like there are different types, but whereas when you're already getting into updating the existing automated test cases, there, like, you know, again, you will just have to abide by a set process that is already set in place, right? However, with designing something of your own, you get the opportunity to build a new automation framework on the basis of the actual requirement, wherein again you are kind of an expert in that, because in order to get to that stage where you, like, you know, start from the beginning, you have to have an in-depth understanding of the project, and you know how it's actually. So let's
say you have the good knowledge about the product. You are really good in the product knowledge, in the domain. You understand the domain. But when we write the test automation, you have to think about the long-term solution, right? When you design the framework from the scratch, where generic approach, right tool, right automation programming language you have to pick, different types of frameworks, test data management, a lot of things you have to consider when we design the framework. So you think that, okay, if you're preferring the new framework and you have to develop from the scratch, so you are comfortable with all these things. That is what you're trying to say?
Well, in the sense that, well, more comfortable in the sense that that gives you the opportunity to identify what the right solution for that would be. So for that, you can research, right? You know, and then get an in there. For example, if I'm someone like who's automating a project from the beginning, I will sort of like look into different type of automations that will best suit the project, right? And then I will sort of like look into the scope of that in that particular project, and then I'll start building it, you know, as per like, you know, as per the suitability of that particular project. Whereas again, with the one that is already automated, yes, there is the scope of getting an understanding of the framework. Sorry, yeah. How it's done, and yeah, it's very convenient for you because you just add test cases to that, and you're already aware of this particular framework. But
let's see in the existing framework, you can debug the code, you can check what kind of code they have written, what kind of libraries they have created, what are different reporting, CI/CD, everything they have used it. You will get really great exposure, which is already available. So will you not prefer that part?
I would. Oh, sorry. I think I'm linking this to your last question where you said, you know, you're not given the product knowledge and you straight away jump.
So that question is over. No, so that question is over. That you would prefer. Yeah, let's not link with that. So now the question is about the existing automation framework and the new automation framework from the scratch.
All right. So yeah, that changes a little bit because although obviously, like I mentioned, like I told all the good things about building your own frameworks. With an existing framework, yes, like you mentioned, there is the scope of debugging, getting understanding of the patterns, getting understanding of the code. So I think that will be a good start, to be honest, you know, before you actually jump into building your own framework, because that will give you an understanding of how different frameworks exist and, you know, how that operates, so that can be implemented in.
So what will you prefer finally?
Finally, I would prefer the existing one. The existing one.
Okay. Yeah. So So I nullify the last answer.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you the reason why. The reason I would prefer the one already set up is because, again, that will give me an understanding of you know, how in real time, how, like, you know, automation frameworks are created for different types of projects, which I can later then implement into a new project from scratch with those understanding and the pattern of codes and the style and the design of the automation framework. So that practical knowledge I can take into.
Sure, no worries. That's perfectly fine. No worries. Okay, so let's see. What are the different factors you will consider when you design one automation framework? What test cases should be automated, or 100% automation you will try to achieve?
So the test cases that I'll try to automate first is are again like those test cases that is frequently in use. So regression testing test cases would be the essential one. Well, even before that, the smoke test cases will be the first priority because again, that looks into the stability of the application. And automating smoke test cases again makes sure that there's nothing missed out and there's no human errors or there's no room for like any missing out on any application and making. And again, it basically executes all those test cases in a lesser time than done manually. So that'll be the first priority. Secondly, the sanity test cases, which are like the functionalities that is sort of like implemented in the application. But again, sorry, that would not really take priority. It will be the first smoke test cases and the regression test cases. Those will be the ones taking priority first, right? And I would only look into also, positive.
So let's see, in regression, you have 200 test cases, assume that. On which factor you will pick that, okay, yeah, these are the best candidates for the automation? What are different factors you will consider?
Right, so in regression testing, the factors to be considered to pick up for automation is again, you look into features that could be interlinked. So if one feature is affecting, if the result of one feature is affecting the scope of the other feature, so these are features that should be taking priority. Features that is always constantly in use, like used by the users all the time. Those should be in the priority. And the important functions that the clients or that impacts the client business requirement or the client needs, those are the ones that should be prioritized. And issues that, and also like test cases where we've identified a lot of bugs in a lot of times, like those test cases should always be a priority as well to make sure that there is no recurring bugs in that. So these are the three factors.
Okay, fine, no worries. Oh, that's good. So let's say you are saying that you are comfortable with the Selenium and Selenium WebDriver with Java. So what do you think? Selenium is a test automation tool, or Selenium is a library? Selenium is a framework? What do you call?
Well, Selenium basically is a tool, right? That obviously gives Selenium is a tool in which we automate or we write our codes. We automate frameworks. It supports different programming languages like Python, Java, C++, C, and it is an open source. So yeah, Selenium. Sorry, I completely the question just skipped off my head. Sorry about that. As I was just saying.
Sorry. So my question is that you're saying Selenium is a tool. Can't I say Selenium is a library? Library is a better word instead of tool.
Well, Selenium has libraries. Selenium consists of libraries with different files and files that can be used. Because, like I said, because Selenium supports different programming languages, and so it has different files for different Selenium, different languages. So it is a tool that stores all this library, but it's not a library in itself.
Okay. So can you tell me some disadvantages or challenges with Selenium?
Disadvantages of Selenium is firstly because it's open source. You don't have the right support for it. You have to go onto forums and discussions. It doesn't support external. It doesn't support mobile application scripting. You can't automate mobile applications. You can't automate Windows pop-ups. You can't automate barcodes and capture codes in automation. So these are the downsides of it.
What else? What else we can't do with Selenium? Or we should not do with Selenium?
Oh yeah, Selenium does not. Sorry, I was loud. Selenium does not create its own report. So it needs a plugin, for example, if you like TestNG plugin is used to generate reports. So that is the other thing it doesn't allow, and it has to use TestNG to generate report.
Okay. Can I automate any desktop application with Selenium?
I'm afraid you can't. No. It only allows web application testing.
Okay.
Scripting, sorry.
Okay. So for example, tell me one thing, let's say in Selenium, whenever we are talking about we have to automate any application, and that application is taking a lot of time to load. Let's see, some element is coming after 5 seconds or maybe 10 seconds. So how will you handle this problem or the situation with Selenium? What kind of mechanism you will be using in Selenium to handle this?
Sorry about that. I'll be using the implicitly wait command, if you like, because in implicitly wait, what you can do is you can actually set a certain timeline by which that application is properly loaded, before it switches to the next step. So if an application like certain pages takes 10 seconds or 5 seconds, I'll give an implicitly wait of about 20 seconds, for example, to be honest with you, because by that time, you will have loaded that page for it to then switch to the other one. Because with the implicitly wait, what happens is, even though you've defined that to be there for 20 seconds, if it's already executed, before 20 seconds, then it moves to the next test case. So that's the approach I'll be taking.
Okay. So have you ever heard about WebDriver wait and the fluent wait in Selenium?
I'm afraid
in the form of explicitly wait.
Oh, sure. I know about the explicitly wait. I know that it explicitly wait is used in it's used for particular test cases itself. But I'm afraid, I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with the term to say, but I'm going to make a note of that.
Okay, sure. Okay. So let's see. I want to click on a specific button, right? And I want to perform some dot click. What are the different ways in Selenium we can perform dot click?
Right. So one is by using the dot click method. Driver.find element by dot click.
Okay.
And the other one is by using Java executor.
Okay. Next.
But I'm not. I need to know the code, but I can't. I'm afraid I can't do the code.
I'm not expecting the syntax. Just okay. The one is JavaScript. One is click. What else?
And then you can also do it via the action class.
Good. Very good. What else?
Oh, okay. Sorry. That the other. Oh, and you can create a method of your own as well. You can design a method of your own to support the click activity as well.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, perfectly fine. Because if you create your own method, also internally you're using Selenium dot click only. So ultimately it's a dot click only. So but just fine. Okay, no worries. Okay, good. So let's see. In TestNG, you have used TestNG, right, in your framework?
I have to generate reports. That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you tell me what are the different annotations you will be using to design a very nice test case? What are the different prerequisites annotations are available? Different post annotations are available. Can you tell me?
Right. So the annotations that we use now in the right order, it would be @ before suit, before test, before class, test, and then it's after. So after it goes from bottom to top. So it goes after method, after class, after method, after class, after test, and after suit.
Perfect. Great.
Yeah.
So what is the difference between before method and before test? Which one will be executed first, and what is the difference?
Before and before test, right?
Before method and before test.
So in the order of execution, before method will be given the first priority, and then before test will be given the second priority. Before method is before test. Now the difference between the two is with before test. Okay, with test you can set priority 1, priority 2, right? Whereas
No,
with
I'm not talking about the priority. I'm not talking about the priority. I'm talking about when you write a test, and then there is a before method and there is a before test, and there is one @test annotation. So which one will be executed first? Before method will be executed first, or before test will be executed first?
Before test will be executed first. Before method after that, because there is one in between the two, and then there is test. Yeah, so it would be before method, and then sorry, beg your pardon. Before test, before method, and then test.
Okay, good. Okay, so do you understand data providers in TestNG? Have you ever used data provider?
Different.
Okay, no worries. So let's see, I have 4 test cases, right? I have 4 @test annotation, and I want to give a priority over there, right? You understand priority keyword? Priority equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, like that.
Yeah.
Can I give the priority is equal to 0?
No, it'll be priority 1 or priority 2. There won't be priority 0.
Are you sure?
From what I have used and understanding, yeah, I think it goes priority 1, priority 2, priority 3.
Okay, can I give the negative priority?
No.
Can I give 2 test cases having the same priority? Priority equal to 1, priority equal to 1.
No, because if you're prioritizing 2 test cases, if you prioritize it has the same thing, it's like, you know, just @test. So you're basically executing that as @test. So if you are prioritizing something, you have to give different numberings to it. Like you have to set different orders to it. Sorry. So 2 test cases.
So let's see, I have 4 test cases, and for 2 test cases, I'm giving the priority 1 and 2. And for for last 2 test cases, I'm not giving any priority. Which one will be executed first?
So priority 1, priority 2, and then the two test cases.
Are you sure?
Priority 1, priority 2, and yeah, I think that's the one.
Okay, fine. So let's say I have 4 test cases. I'm not giving any priority. So on what basis TestNG will execute the test cases? In which order it will execute the test cases?
It'll execute it in the order of which one comes first. So which one's built at first, and then accordingly. So that's how it's executed if we don't give it priority.
Are you sure, or it will execute on the basis of alphabetic order?
I don't. Well, it makes sense that, you know, alphabetical order, but again, again with no, I think he'll just do it at the rate of at the on the basis of the pattern.
It's okay if you are not sure about it.
I'm afraid I'm not. It's only because with my practical implementations, I sort of like, you know, didn't come across it. But yeah, these are things I'll definitely look into. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. That's perfectly fine. That's okay. Okay, let's come back to once again in Selenium. So in Selenium, you are your favorite language, your preferred language is Java.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you tell me that where exactly we are using the concept of list and hash map in Selenium? Have you ever used anytime, anywhere in Selenium?
So hash map I know is used to map, you know, the two datas together. Like say, for example, there are 2 tables, and then you want map the data from the two tables, that's when hash map is used. Now with hash map, what you do is the code for that is map, and you give the name of the string, define the string and the new hash map, and then that way, and then you use the put input to combine the two together. So that is how you use hash map. Now list is used for things like, for example, if you want to find something by find elements, for example.
Okay.
Now when you create web elements, like that's when you use the list command. So list web element, and then the web element name, and then find by. So yeah, that's when list is used, and the difference in list and hash map.
Okay. So let's see, I have one drop down, right? And how will you select the values from the drop down? And the HTML tag of this drop down is select tag. So which class in Selenium is responsible, and what are different methods are available in Selenium to handle the drop down?
So with drop down, we do the select class. Select, yeah. So that's new select equals yeah. Sorry, that's right. And then st dot find by visible text. So that's one way of finding the drop down.
Okay. What else?
Well, I've used find by visible text a lot, but there are several others, that shows in that box when you sort of implement this program. But I'm afraid I don't know all of it from the top of my head, but because I've been using by visible text a lot, so that's how I know to use.
Okay. Have you ever heard about by index or by value?
By index or by value?
Select by index, select by value, and select by visible text. Visible text you have already said.
Yeah. I've seen those in that drop down, but I'm afraid I haven't used it. So because I haven't used it, no, yeah, a lot of that.
Okay, fine, no worries. Fine. So what do you mean by actions class, and what are the different things we can do with the actions class in Selenium?
So actions class, you can use actions class for various reasons. Now, if you want to do a drag and drop, that's when you use the action class. And if you want, mouse activities can be done in action class.
Like what kind of mouse activity?
So drag and drop, you can do mouse hover. If you want a mouse hover, that you can do.
Okay.
Actions.
Give me 5 user actions that you can perform with the actions class. You have already told me that mouse hover and then drag and drop. What else?
5, 2.
What exactly you do manually, from the keyboard?
Oh, sorry. No, that's key press. No, that's robot R.
So can we do key press with actions class also? Yes, of course we can do that.
Yeah, I used to use robot. I used to use robot R. So that's but yeah, it makes sense because if you can do keyboard activities as well. If you think of it. So that's the other one as well. 2 more.
So if I give you the mouse, let's see, this is a mouse. What else you can do with the mouse?
So I can right click, I can click, I can hover, I can.
So right click, you can do that, right? Can you do the right click with actions class?
Yes, all mouse activities will have to be done with the action class, but all the mouse functionality. So if it's a right click, that's something you can do as well. So just to sum this up, hover, click, and then right click, keyboard actions.
What else? Can we do a double click?
Oh yes, double click as well. That's right. Sorry, it's all waving off my head. Sorry today.
No worries. Okay, great. No worries. Okay, so one last question in Selenium. Let's see. Have you ever heard about page object model?
Paid object model, yes, but I've used that. I'm familiar with that with Maven projects, like when we create Cucumber dependencies. So, from my understanding, which I might not be right, POM is an XML file which has like
No,
different.
I'm not talking, Nibesh, I'm not talking about form.xml file. I'm talking about page object model design pattern for UI automation. Have you ever used that?
I'm afraid I haven't.
Sure, no worries. That's perfectly fine. That's okay. Okay. So can you tell me some important components or important sections in pom.xml file? In Maven pom.xml file that you were talking about, right?
Yeah, so we have various dependencies that we add to pom.xml file when doing Cucumber. So
Okay.
we put in Selenium dependency files.
What else? So let's see, one is dependency. What else we write in pom.xml file? Start from the top, start from the beginning in pom.xml file.
So yeah, it has different configurations, for the operations to be carried out. Again, yeah, so we have dependencies and we are from the top. I'm really sorry, Naveen. I mean, this is again because I I'm used to copying that code and pasting it and just changing the pattern of it. So I'm so sorry. Again, I am going to do
No
my
worries,
research on that.
that's perfectly fine. No need to be sorry about that. That's perfectly okay. Okay, do you know what is Maven lifecycle? Have you ever heard about it? Otherwise, that's totally okay.
I'm afraid not.
Maven.
I've
Okay.
used Maven as to Cucumber for Cucumber, but I'm afraid
Okay,
not.
no worries. So Cucumber is what? What is Cucumber? You're talking
Cucumber
about
is a
Cucumber in
BDD.
your work.
Sorry. Yeah, I was going to say Cucumber is another language which is a part of a BDD language, which is behavioral driven development, which basically means that in behavior all the programmings are written in a plain simple text, which can be understood by non-technical members of the team as well. So what that does is that gives an easy understanding of the test cases, or the programming language that we've written. And Cucumber is the right platform for that, because we have in Cucumber we have plugin. Well, we have a thing called Jenkins that helps write all these programs in plain simple text. So yeah, the reason why Cucumber is good is because it
Which
helps it
language?
collaborates.
Yeah. So which language we use in to design the feature file, to write something in feature file, right? We have designed the features. So we have a
So
keyword for that. We have a specific.
it's Gherkin. Gherkin is the
Mm-hmm.
keyword. And in
Yeah.
Gherkin, yeah, so we use that to write it in plain simple text, where we use @given, when, then, and we just write it in plain simple text, which is on the feature file. And on the step definition file, you basically create a body of that particular, the again, I'm forgetting the name, but those steps are, yeah. So you give a code, but in the difference is in step definition file, you use different programming languages like Java and Python and what have you. But whereas in feature file, you use Gherkin to writing the cases. Sorry.
Okay. So let's say I'll give you one scenario. Just write the. I have one scenario which is a very simple login page. Or let's take an example of Amazon page. You just log in into the Amazon page, and then you are landing on the home page of the Amazon, right? So you have to write a feature file for that with the help of given, when, then. I'm not talking about this Java code or any step definition code. I'm just simple. Give me how smartly or how properly you will be using given, when, then.
Sure. So feature is to. Sorry, what was the feature again?
Yeah, this feature is very simple, that the login is working properly and the user is able to log in successfully or not.
Okay, sure. So it would be, again, feature login. Scenario would be logging into Amazon. So given when user enters the URL, then user enters the username and password, and then clicks the login button. Then user is directed to the home page. So these will be the
what is the difference? What is the difference between given, when, and then? When to use? I ask you the question like you have to use given, then properly, not randomly. So given, when, then how will you use it? First, you will directly start with given, or you will start with when, or it doesn't matter. What do you think about it?
Oh, sorry, yeah, no, it does, because that again gives an idea of how that particular action is taken. So it starts with given the user enters a URL, so that's the first condition. Then user
So given is what? What given is representing what? What do you mean by given?
Oh, given is like, okay, there is something there ready for you to get into. So given this is provided. Oh, sorry. Okay. So sorry. So when user enters the URL, so that's obviously the first action you need to take, because obviously in order to get to the given this, he has to get into there. So when user enters the URL, given user is on the login page, then user enters a username and password, and clicks login, and then user is directed to the home page.
Okay. So what is the difference between scenario and scenario outline?
So scenario is used. Scenario outline is used when example keywords are used. Now, what that basically means is if you want to execute a particular test cases with multiple data, with more data, right? That's when examples keyword is used. Now, whenever we use example keywords, the scenario becomes scenario outline. And then once we've and then the example keyword is given at the end of those after the cases, and then we define the individual usernames. Whereas with with the example, so that's the example keyword. Now with the other one, we don't basically have to do that.
What are the different hooks are available in Cucumber? Have you ever heard about hooks?
Yes, hooks. I'm so sorry. That's not a part of a test runner class, is it? No.
Hooks means like before all the scenarios, what exactly you want to execute, just like we have in TestNG before method and after method, or before test, after test, just like we have set up and tear down methods in the form of hooks in Cucumber. Okay, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. What do you mean by background keyword? What do you mean by background in Cucumber?
Background, yeah. So background keyword in Cucumber is used to make note of all the common steps that is used in other in different other cases, for that particular feature. So for example, if for every test cases we say, okay, user has to log in, user has to enter username and password. Now, because that's commonly occurring in all the test cases, so if we just put that in a background keyword, when you execute it, what happens is all those commonly introduced features in the background, that sort of executes along with the other features without us having to repeat the same code over and over again. So that's what background keyword does.
Okay. So let's see, you have written 100 test cases, and these 100 test cases are taking around 4 hours, which is like a lot of time. And your manager says that, okay, Nilesh, that you have to, Nibesh, that you have to minimize the time because it's taking a lot of time. 4 hours is too much only for 100 very quick test cases. What will be a strategy to improve the performance of the script?
I'll be using the Cucumber tags option. In Cucumber tag, what happens? You're able to give.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead, please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say, so in Cucumber tags, what you can do is you can specify what test cases to run and what not to run. So you give the annotation of, @smoke, @regression, @sanity, and on your test run class, you can just specify whether you just want the smoke test cases executed or regression tests executed. So on that basis, you prioritize.
How exactly it will improve the performance? I'm talking about improve the performance of the automation script, right? Or you have to minimize the time. You, instead of 4 hours, let's say your target is to set initially 3 hours, then set it to 2 hours. You have to keep doing the improvisation over here to minimize the time.
So what I'll do is I will cut down on the steps, like shorten the steps in the step definition and on the feature file, because the more, the lengthier the steps are, the more code, the lengthier the step definition would be. So I'll reduce on that, and then I will try and combine, the like two sort of like features together. For example, instead of writing then user enters username, and then on the next line, then user enters password. Then I'll combine that into one. And so then
Selenium point of view. So this is for Cucumber point of view. Let's see for Selenium point of view, what are the things you can try so that you can improve the performance?
So in Selenium itself, we have various concepts of inheritance. And things like that, where we can define a method in a parent class, and then we also define the method. You define other methods in a child class. You extend that. So in a parent class, what you have is you have all this reusable functionality, reusable methods, variables that we use there. So in order to optimize that, so once you have all the reusable functions set up in one particular class, that can be extended.
Reusable functions, inheritance, everything is part of Java. You can improve with the help of Java. I'm talking about in terms of Selenium, when Selenium is interacting with the browser or with the web elements. For Selenium point of view, what are different things you will consider to improve the performance? I know you know the answer. You have already given the answer a few minutes back when we're talking about synchronization and timeouts in Selenium.
Oh, okay, yeah. So implicitly wait again. That's when we, because again, performance is it rings a bell now. Thank you. So performance. Well, performance is to do with the execution timing and all that. So basically, what we do is in order to improve the performance, we give an implicitly wait command. Or we can use explicitly wait, but we can't use the two together because it creates conflict. So in that, we obviously specify a certain time for the program to be executed, for that particular command line to be executed, and so that way, we can evaluate as to the maximum time it could take for a particular feature to run. So that way, we can keep trace of the performance of the application.
Okay, fine. So last question from my side, Nilesh, for today. That is, you have worked with SQL, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, SQL, I did self-learning here. I mean, that was this is what I'm currently doing. So yeah, okay.
So can you tell me that what is the difference between primary key and the foreign key?
Yeah. So primary key is a combination of not null and unique. What that means is not null is where the null values cannot be entered, and unique is only unique values can be entered. Primary key is a combination of both, which and in primary key, when you define certain column as a primary key, you have to write it. You have to write it under primary key bracket. What that means is you can't basically specify a primary key right beside.
Can we have two columns in the same table with the primary key?
Yes, we can, but that has to be specified at the bottom. So you have to specify that as primary key, and then, but it has to be integers, right? Sorry. Yeah, it has to be not null and unique, but yeah, you can define two different columns as primary key.
So you mean to say, let's say I have an employee table and I have 5 columns. Can I make all these 5 columns with primary key?
Unique, not null. It has to be integer value. No, I'm sorry, but you can make it, because from my understanding, again, like I said, you specify different columns where you want the data, which is not null and which is unique. So in order to do that, you have to specify those fields, where you need those data from as primary keys. So if the 5 fields that you have, can give duplicate data or null value, to avoid that, you have to identify that in the primary key section.
Okay, good, no worries. So one last thing, you are using JIRA. Are you writing test cases in JIRA, or you are using some other? How exactly you are writing your test cases in JIRA?
So JIRA I've used for project management, but with managing the entire test process, I've used TestRail. So JIRA, when I started using JIRA as a project management tool, where I would log different support requests, because the support email was directly connected with JIRA. So in that, what I would do is support requests and different bugs. In that, how I would use it as a tester is now the features in JIRA that I would use as a tester. I'll log, I'll create a ticket. I'll create a JIRA ticket in which I'll assign that ticket to the developers. And in the body of in body of that particular bug ticket, I'll have different steps to recreate what version I am testing or I've identified that bug in, how much time, and then also we can keep track of timeline of how much time it's taken for that particular bug to be rectified. So that way it gives a visibility of how much time is being taken for a particular ticket to run. So that's how.
So what is the reason of having 2 tools? You are using JIRA also at TestRail. Why can't we have Zephyr and X-Ray plugin available in JIRA? Why can't we write the test cases directly in JIRA instead of TestRail? Any specific reason behind that?
Yeah, so we surely can do that, because JIRA does offer, project management side of things where you can create testers. But in the organization that I was working with, what it was, because we used JIRA for project management first, and then there was bugs that we are reporting as well, and then we transitioned to TestRail, and TestRail is solely we were using TestRail solely for the purposes of creating test suites for new projects, and streamlining all the test cases itself. So we have 2 applications. One was for the
Okay. So are you running your test cases in TestRail only? Are you creating any test cycle over there or something like this in TestRail?
So from my experience of using TestRail, yes, there's a test. So what I used to do is I used to create test suites in which all the test cases, and then yes, test cycle. We'd run the test cycle, but what it was now I had a senior member of the team who'd automated TestRail with Selenium. So whenever we ran Selenium and there was any test cases pass or fail, that would then change the status of it on TestRail. So that was the.
So let's see, in TestRail you have 100 test cases, and your automation guy has automated around 70 test cases. That is reflecting in your TestRail. So 70% test cases are getting executed through Selenium, getting reflected in the status is reflected in TestRail. What about those 30% test cases? Are you executing it, or what exactly you're doing with those 30% test cases?
So, yeah, and now once the automation test cases run these test cases that have been specified, and then the remaining ones that is not automated, that is done manually, and then yes, once we have completed those cycles, we then manually change the status of those particular test cases in TestRail. But yeah, the test cases that's not automated is still run, but the status of that is updated manually.
Okay, good. One last small thing from my side. I really want to know your view on, do you prefer to write the test cases or not?
I definitely prefer to write test cases, and the reason why I do that is because again, as a quality analyst, right now the main thing that you have to do is think out of the box. because yes, there is a set process you work with, but in order to achieve quality, and you have to write test cases, you have to think out of the box, create different scenarios. And the reason why you need to write test cases is because if you don't have that documentation, then there's a risk of us missing out on test cases that is very essential to be executed. We might even miss out on important features. That is very crucial. We might miss out on important bugs that we've identified in the past, and then not documenting it, we could skip that. And also, if there's a new project member joining the company, it'll be good for them to straight away jump into carrying out the test rather than starting to create test cases from the beginning, so they'll get an understanding of the project as well. So again, like I said, manual test cases, preparing test cases is very much essential for any level of quality analyst, because again, with automation and the new tools we use, it's only
great. Okay, good, great. So that's all for my side, Nibesh. So interview is over. What do you think? How was it? How was the experience?
Yeah, from my experience, I'll be honest. Now, this is my first proper quality analyst, QA interview, real time. Because with my previous company, I learned QA there. But thank you for this experience. Now, with regards to things that I need to know, now I thought I'd known a lot, but you've given me the questions that you've asked me that these are things I've sort of come across, but I've not focused so much on, for example, hooks in Cucumber. I'm sure that's essential. And there are various other things that I missed out on, which I'll be making a note of.
So what do you think? These questions, whatever we are asking, that is it really relevant according to your experience, or the questions was out of scope?
It was relevant with regards to the project and with the tools that I'm familiar with. Now it's only because with me, I don't really have a hands-on experience on Cucumber or MySQL or GitHub. It's all been a part of the learning, and I've done it's basically a self-learning project that I've done. So, but again, the questions that you've asked was something that I was not aware in my learning. It was absolutely relevant because when I go for further real-time interviews, these are things that I can expect.
Correct.
So yeah, it's absolutely relevant. Even Maven, for example, yes. Now, yes, I've done Cucumber, but I also need to know about Maven, because that's something that is. So again, it has given me an understanding that with my self-learning itself, there's just much more than that I need to sort of get focused on to get into the industry.
Okay. So let's talk about the feedback, right?
Yeah, sure.
I have.
Can I get a pen? Is that all right? I'll just get a pen.
Sorry?
Can I get a pen?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead. So guys, the candidate is good, but we will talk about his feedback. So yeah.
Sorry.
No worries. Just make sure write down all the improvements and feedback, definitely. So Nibesh, what I see, you are a great candidate, first of all, no doubt about it. But let's talk about the positive things about or the good things about. Your communication skills are excellent. Your communication skills is not about that how frequent you are when you're talking, but your communication is about that you are using the proper word. That I really liked it. Your intro was really good. That really impressed me, that it was to the point, and then what exactly you're doing and what exactly the interviewer is really want to know. It was really to the point. You were not too much detailed into your product, about the project, but you are totally about your experiences and then whatever you're learning from last couple of projects, your roles and responsibilities. That is, I think, really liked it. According to me, it was good. And definitely that, yeah. You really pick some good words when you talk about your experiences and everything. That is, I really liked it. Then your knowledge on testing, your knowledge on, I would say, the functional manual testing and on Agile, on Waterfall Model, those questions answer was really, really good. I don't see a big problem over there, like QA challenges in Agile, last day, a task to the QA that we are getting, or I ask you that, okay, on the last day we are getting a QA task. and then you have to execute all the test cases. Your strategy was good. First, we will execute the test cases, we'll raise the bug, we will raise the concerns. Those things are absolutely good. That and you know how to give the answer for the testing point of view because you understand testing. It was clearly not visible that okay, you know the things only theoretically. It shows, it reflects in your answer that okay, yeah, this guy is having some knowledge and you understand testing, what is the need of that, why waterfall model having some problems, and then agile came into the picture, and then the agile also, what are different challenges and the problems we have, and then the for QA point of view also you understand agile is really good or bad or whatever. Then let's talk about the regression. So that is very common question people will ask that okay, before that I asked that question that okay, will you raise a only blocker critical bugs, right? You remember this question? And
Yeah.
then or you will raise all the 50 bugs. So never say that okay, I'll just concentrate on the blocker and critical. As a QA guy, we should concentrate on whatever 50, 60, 100, 200, whatever bugs. That is my job, to find the bugs, raise the concerns, raise the risk, raise the whatever the concern area, and then we have to document. Means document in the form of bugs. I will definitely raise it. Now it's developer choice or the product manager choice. You will fix it or not. That is your problem. From my side, I have raised the concern. These are the 100 bugs from my side. I have raised it. Now you decide. Let them decide that okay, yes, because ultimately it's a quality team, right? It's a team responsibility. Quality is a team responsibility. From your side, you have given the responsibility that okay, yes, you have to raise the bug. You have to test this application end to end, and you have raised it, right? And then you could have said okay, yeah, definitely I will raise it, and I can move. You just fix on the only the blocker and critical bugs, but I can take a reference for the future, and we will move those bugs to the next sprint or upcoming sprint so that I can track over here. After giving the hint, you said that I really liked it, but the first time attempt, okay, you should, in the first attempt it said that okay, you should say this line, right? But I really liked it. Okay, when I was giving you the hint, you are thinking and then you are giving the answer. That I really like this attitude. You were not totally blank. Then the regression test, again the same thing happened that when you have the regression test case is that 500 test cases are there, and you said that okay, no, every time I'm going to execute 500 test cases. Only for let's say 10 fixes are there, only for one fix is there. Are you going to execute those 500 test cases? No, that is not the way. We have to use some impact analysis technique or maybe risk analysis. We can do that from the beginning itself for this particular user story where exactly is going to be impacted. This is a very practical answer we can give at the time of interview. So, and then again after giving the hint, then you said that okay, yeah, we can do some impact analysis. That was again a good thing. It shows that you have a good attitude, that you listen and then you think about it and then you deliver the answer for that. Nobody is perfect, no doubt about it, but yeah, these small things you just take care. It will give you cherry on a cake with your answer, definitely.
Sure.
Then in automation agile, that was a really good question. That okay, what is the importance of automation agile? That was good, no doubt about it. And then I give you a couple of situation based questions, that which one you prefer, project with complete manual testing with the good domain knowledge, with the good project knowledge, or an automation project where you just need to concentrate only for the automation as a consultant. So that was the first situation I gave it to you. I really liked your answer that yes, you prefer with the project knowledge, you prefer the domain knowledge. With the proper functional testing, you will write a test cases and you will see the product from the first day itself, and then you will contribute for the company, for the organization. It shows that okay, yeah, you don't want to work just like a normal consultant only for the automation, where you're not bothered about about the product, only considering about your automation skills. I think that is somewhere other QA also they have to understand. So that quality I can see it over there. Then again, that was slightly confusion between automation existing framework or new framework that you will start. So see, if you are saying I'll start from the new framework, I'll start everything from the beginning, that answer you have to pick smartly, right? Because if you're saying that okay, you are having 5 years, and then if you say that okay, new framework you will start, it means you know the things already. You know a lot of things. So interview, you are diverting the interview in different direction. You getting a point? It means you're
Right.
saying that okay, yeah, I'll develop everything from the scratch, and then I know the things, and then I'll write my test cases, I'll design my libraries and everything. It means yeah, you are impressing the interviewer that okay, yeah, this guy knows, so let's talk in the technical direction in that case. Then if
Right.
your technical is not that good, then it will be a problematic situation. So better diplomatic answer is that yeah, I'll start with the automation existing framework where things are already there, and I'll try to learn, I'll try to debug, it's a very good word, is you can definitely say that, okay, I'll try to debug the code, I'll look into the code, what kind of things they're doing, I'll try to learn from the seniors, I try to learn from my colleagues. And then when I get the maturity, and then something like this, maybe after 1 year, after 2 years, maybe I can pick, one project which is where you have to start from the beginning, like that. I think that is the right question for your profile, right answer for for your profile. You getting a point?
Sure.
The moment you
Yeah.
say I'll start everything from the scratch, I'll learn, I'll research, means you're doing a research, and then you are going to implement everything from the zero, everything from zero. It means that you know the things, and then you are diverting the topic, diverting your interview towards different direction. So just
Sure.
these things, just you're getting a point,
Sure.
right? What exactly I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Then
indeed.
yeah. Then what to automate? What are the best different candidates for the automation? I asked you that. Your question answer was good, but not complete. You said, okay, I'll start automating smoke, but in smoke testing also, I asked specifically that 100% automation is possible or not. You did not talk about 100% automation. You just started with, okay, I'll try to automate smoke test cases. But in smoke also, what are the best candidates for the automation? That was the question. So you could have said, okay, every time you say, yeah, all the regression test cases with happy path scenarios. In fact, in a smoke test case also, which are very, very important and very straightforward scenarios, it does not need much navigation or something like this. In that case, I'll just go for it. And then these are very straightforward happy path scenario. I'll try to automate. Same thing in regression also, that it's very tedious every time. It's so boring to execute those test cases again and again. It's taking a lot of time. And the same thing, we have to do that. And it's a very old feature, which is we are every time we are running through manually. So better to automate those test cases. Those test cases which are available with the happy path scenarios, very straightforward scenarios, we have to automate those test cases like that. So use certain words like happy path scenarios and tedious, which is time taking, which is taking a lot of manual efforts, so that I can automate, and then we can get some relief for the manual testers or for other functional testers, like that.
Sure.
Right. So answer was good, but it could be improved. Then
Sure.
we
Thank you.
started with the Then we started with the Selenium. Then I asked you that, okay, Selenium is a library, Selenium is a tool, or Selenium is a framework. So again, there is no problem to call it tool. Some people, they call it a tool. Some say that, okay, it's a library. Someone says that, okay, it's a framework. I would say you should better to say library, right? Selenium is
Sure.
a library which is available. Let's say if you're talking about Java, it's available in the form of a jar file. They will give you certain jar file libraries, and then you have to use that library to automate the things. So your answer was good, but you can say that, okay, we can call it whatever you want, but my preference, I would say Selenium is a library. Tool, we generally say that, okay, having one proper interface, look and feel, just like QTP, just like a load runner, or just like maybe some other tool, which is the graphical, presentation is there or something like this. So that is fine. And then you were aware about the disadvantages like open source, there is no support for that, and bar, captcha, no report, and all those things. That was good. Try to add some more, extra points over here.
Sure.
The disadvantages with the, what else we can do. We cannot do any hardware testing. We cannot do any security, performance testing, such things. There are around 20-25 lists there. You can watch on my channel also. I've already prepared one video on that.
Sure.
Then, first of all, when we ask Selenium questions, so if you're very confident about it, sometimes it shows that, okay, you say that, okay, I'm sorry, I'm afraid to say that. So I think somewhere don't say that line at a time of interview, right?
Okay.
So you can ignore saying that. It shows that, okay, you know the things, but you're not able to express, right? So that is a minute observation about this. And then I think basic things about Selenium. Like I asked, what are different click options are available, like click, JavaScript executor, actions class. But please try to improve other Selenium stuff, like all the core features. It's just a matter of 5 days. Pick one topic or one or two topics daily basis for Selenium, like implicitly wait, explicitly wait. In explicitly wait also, we have WebDriver wait, fluent wait, synchronization problem, why we are getting it, what could be the reason. Please try to do that. All the Selenium core features, how we'll do the drop down handling, and all such things, right?
Sure.
Then I asked you about actions classes in Selenium. Your answer was like drag and drop, you can do that, and mouse over, we can do that, but there are other options also. So these are a small things people will expect you to answer because you have written Selenium in your resume. So people will expect you to answer about all the core features of Selenium. One thing, let's say I asked about, okay, what are different options are available to handle the drop down? You said, okay, select by visible text, but what about us? What about others? Then you said, I have never worked upon that. So it's not about you haven't worked upon that. It's very common. When you have written this thing, then you should know about other two methods also. Nobody's expecting the right exact syntax, but you should said that you should have told that select by index, select by visible text, and select by value, right? So it gives a wrong impression, right? And try to avoid, you said that, okay, there is a box in Eclipse, it will show. It's little, it doesn't look good when you say that, okay, when you write select dot, and then it will give you all the options. You can say that, okay, it's giving you all the suggestions over there. Don't say that, okay, there is a small box in Eclipse. It looks little, inexperienced that, okay, yeah, you're getting my point, right? So don't use such words. Yeah. Then a list and hash map in Selenium. So you know what is hash map, but please try to improve this answer. You said that, okay, driver.find element, it will return list. You could have given some more example about that and when to use hash map in Selenium. You know hash map, but improve that the term. Hash map is a collection class, collection library where to store the data in the form of key and value pair format. So you forget to tell that key and value pair format, which is like very much required. So just learn about the basic thing about list and hash map like that. And then TestNG. In TestNG, first of all, that all the priority-based questions answer were wrong. Okay, we can give zero priority, we can give negative priority, we can give common priority, we can give the same priorities, and some test cases are available with four test cases are there. Two test cases are having priority, two test cases are not having priority. So it will pick first non-priority based test cases, not the priority based test cases, right? And then I asked the question that is it compulsory to give the common priority? Can we give the common priority for all the test cases? Yes, we can do that. Priority equal to 1, 1, 1 for all the test cases. That also we can do that. And then I asked that, okay, if I don't give any priority, in which order? So it will pick on the basis of alphabetic order. It's not like the first that we have written. No, it's not like that. Okay, so it's just a matter of 1 hour. Just practice with the priority. And your sequence was absolutely good for TestNG, like before suite, then we have before test, then before class, before method. That sequence was absolutely good. Most of the people, they give the wrong answer for that, but you gave the right answer. And the difference between before method and before test also was good. But please improve this, a small thing, data provider, priority based questions. These are very straightforward answers. And if someone is asking you, then definitely it gives a good impression and your question is also ready for that. Sure. Then page object model, please try to learn page object model. So that's why I didn't ask any question, but when you said that, okay, you're not sure about it. If you're not sure, that's straightforward, say, okay, I'm not sure about it. Don't try to, because when you try to assume the things, then you will intend to give the wrong answer. So that is, that happens with everyone that, okay, yeah, when you try to assume the things, when you try to give the guess, if you're very much sure about it, then only try to guess. Otherwise, if you're not, if you in fact you're 70% sure about it, then you try to guess. Otherwise, you simply say that, okay, no, I'm not sure about it, instead of giving the wrong answer. Sure. Right? Then .XML file, you know the things, but what other dependencies are there? Then on top of that, we have to give some configuration, project details, artifact ID, plugins, right? Artifact ID, group ID, project name, all such things we will be giving over there. And Maven lifecycle, that project will be compiled first, then Surefire plugin, it will run it first and it will generate the artifact, it will generate the resources, jar file and all those things. So just, it's a very simple question, you can talk about it. Then Cucumber. First of all, you said the first line you said Cucumber is a language. First of all, it's not a language. Cucumber is a framework. Cucumber, or I would say Cucumber is a library which supports BDD approach. Cucumber is not BDD. BDD is an approach, an agile, that is test-centric approach, right? And Cucumber we use to achieve BDD, right? And then your question was, your description was absolutely right that, yeah, we have a common platform, common language where everybody is involved. Manual tester is also involved to write the feature file and everything. And then you forgot that word gherkin. When cucumber is there, gherkin should be there. And then the sequence was not that proper, given when then. Okay, so please try to improve, because definitely because in your intro also you have said cucumber multiple times. So definitely in a resume also cucumber is written over there. So definitely these kind of questions you can expect at a time of interview for sure. Given when, then when to use, how to use proper sequence. And then your answer was absolutely right between scenario and scenario outline with the examples keyword. And hooks are very common. And then you are not sure about it. So please try to look into cucumber hooks also. Okay, we have set up hooks and then tear down hooks, before and after hooks also available. It's a very, very simple chapter. Just go, or maybe on my channel, or maybe on cucumber documentation also, you can look into it, right? And
Sure.
then background, try to improve the background keyword also. You said that, okay, whatever the preconditions or prerequisites are there, that every time we don't need to write login with the username, password, and all those things. So those things we can put it inside the background. That is good. Okay, you can still, you can improve this question and improve this answer. Then scope of performance is like in terms of Selenium, in terms of your execution. It means you have to minimize the time from 4 hours to 3 hours to like that. That answer again could be improved. I was more focusing on the Selenium point of view. Your starting point was good, that okay, yeah, we will try to create a generic approach. We can reusability code, we can use that. Inheritance, object-oriented programming concept, we can use that. And then you come up with the Selenium part. Could be possible that okay, that is the synchronization. And then you know only the implicitly weight. Generally, we don't use implicitly weight in frameworks. We use explicitly weight in frameworks. We use WebDriver weight in frameworks, right? So what is the disadvantage with the implicitly weight? Try to learn that thing. You know the implicitly weight very well, no sure about it. There's no doubt about it, but yeah. Okay, so just, this is a small thing. Then JIRA test trail. So see, the trend with you is that when I'm asking about JIRA, I'm asking about test management, project management, Agile, Waterfall, test cases, manual testing. You are at this level. You know, your answer are very sharp, and you know how to answer those things. So that is absolutely perfect, right? I really liked all the answers. The moment at the end that you said, okay, where exactly you're using JIRA, it shows that okay, yeah, you have the practical knowledge. You are using the support ticket in JIRA, and then a test cycle, test management you're doing in your test trail, which is absolutely good. So that's why I see I clearly written, whenever I'm talking about testing, you are at the perfect level. But whenever I'm talking about Selenium Cucumber, you're at this level. So you have to reach at this level, you know, so that your interview will be perfect in that case.
Sure.
Right? And then primary key, foreign key, that was a wrong answer. So please go and check it once again. Okay, so that's why, like, yeah, only generally people, they don't ask SQL question, but if someone is asking you, please, you have written. So yeah. So my last point is, the observation is, you are really good candidate. I'm telling you, I impressed with your attitude, impressed with your communication skills, impressed the way you pick up the words, impressed with your testing knowledge. I never felt that okay, you are having some theoretical knowledge about the testing, or maybe some bookish knowledge about the testing. You have some really practical, because I tested you with the different situations, and you know, and you give really, really nice answers. Just the improvement area is the basics of automation, Selenium stuff, right, Nibesh? Because you are showing 5 years, you have written 5 years, and if you are, see, what you can do is, when you explain your intro, right, when you give your intro, you can say that, okay, I'm having total 5 years experience, but from last 1 year, I'm doing automation. So your automation experience, you can say that, okay, only 1 year. But before that, I'm pretty much comfortable with, you can start it like this. I'm having 5 years experience, 1 year in automation, but I'm pretty much comfortable with all the functional testing concepts, agile methodology, BDD, TDD, different tools I've been using for automation, and I'm working on the current existing framework. Just say that in the beginning itself, so that there will be a mindset, okay, you are creating about you in front of interviewer, so that he will think in that direction only. See, giving interview is an art. You have to decide that, okay, how exactly you want to, where exactly you want to, you know, take your interview. And you can do disaster also, and you can do blunder also in your interview, and then you can you can play smartly also at the time of interview, right? So I think you have that art somewhere when we talk about the manual testing, because the people, you are actually intimidating someone that, okay, when you give the really good answer about testing, right, then interviewer is actually feel that, okay, let's ask this question also, let's ask this question also, let's see what exactly he says. So that's a good thing. That's a very good positive point in about you. Okay.
Thank you.
So that is my observation. I hope it will work for you, and then best of luck from my side.
Thank you. And I'd like to say thank you so much for scheduling this, and thank you so much for all the work you've done, for all of us. Really helpful. I've joined your Facebook page as well, and all your all your videos on YouTube. Really amazing. Yeah, definitely. I shall give you an update, to be honest, once I've worked on all this feedback. I'll drop you an email again to thank
Sure,
you for
Nibesh.
everything, and thank you so much for today.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and then I wish you all the best. Just prepare, spend at least next 2 weeks on these things, and
Sure.
I'm pretty much sure that, okay, you have that caliber, you can crack interviews for sure about it. Okay, so I wish you
Amazing.
all the best. Let me know if you have any questions or any things to ask later on. Feel free to mail me or call me anytime. Okay.
Sure. Thank you so much again.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye.